Hello, everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Doze, joined by the Prince of Preparedness himself here on this Halloween Eve as we record our review of Mortal Thor number 3. Eric, are you ready for a super spooky, not so spooky, issue of Mortal Thor?
Ooh, spooky.
Let's hit guys off of construction equipment.
The haunted construction side. Watch out for the Serpent Society. Or yes, I'm jazzed. I'm feeling good. I've got that, that Halloween Eve energy. And yeah, this was a banger issue. Excited to kind of dive into it.
Yeah, this is Eric and I were talking a little bit on our pregame about Halloween and kind of like the things we do on Halloween, but also kind of alluding to the review of this episode being the last 2 issues of Mortal Thor. This issue and number 2 were a lot of fight. A lot of, punch, blood, hammers to the face, jaws being dislocated, people just like lots of brutality in the last 2. And man, issue number 3 did not disappoint. We knew we were getting a big fight because at the end of issue 2, Donald Blake was revealed to be the head of the Serpent. I mean, Eric, I know we're going to talk a little bit about like breaking down a few of the things that Blake says, but he's really only in a few pages of this book. But we got the reveal at the end of number 2, and then we saw the cover a few months ago of Sigurd fighting these, like you said, dime store Serpent Society. They look like Hydra foot soldiers, but
yeah, I guess I don't really know. Are they Serpent Society or are they just following the Serpent? They're Serpent something.
Yeah, they're Sons of the Serpent.
Sons of the Serpent.
So it's like you've heard of the Hydra? Yeah, it's not these guys. You've heard of the Serpent Society? Yeah, not those guys. If you heard of the Sons of the Serpent? No, that's these guys. Yeah. So they're just nondescript henchmen guys. But we're taking a step up from our bikers from the last 2 issues. So really, Thor's fought a lot of henchmen so far.
They've got uniforms and helmets. They've got uniforms and helmets, so they're definitely more put together than a biker gang. So it's definitely a level up.
Right, but I mean, this we'll just give you a little bit of the breakdown here. This before we jump into our full review, and we're just going to talk through some of the things we really liked about this issue, and we're going to give you some of our thoughts, maybe a little bit of speculation going forward based on the next issue's cover, which the next issue's cover already brings me more joy than a cover probably should. This issue is called The Father of Lies. It is Mortal Thor number 3, written by Al Ewing, artist Pascal Ferry, color artist Matt Hollingsworth, the letterer VC's Joe Sabino, cover art, the A cover by Alex Ross, and a bunch of other awesome variants in there. Some ATB favorites in here. Pascal Ferry did a cover. Juan Ferreira did a cover. Juan Fergieri did a cover, who's one of Faz's favorites. Phil Noto, a lot of good stuff to be enjoyed there. But this story starts out with Blake talking to his foot soldiers, his very creepily devoted foot soldiers, about why people need gods and why gods are created. Gods are created essentially to keep a foot on the back of the neck, to keep people in line. And then in unison, all of his foot soldiers are like, "Yes, Father." It's like, okay, this has got culty vibes all over it, and Blake sends these foot soldiers to go deal with a guy named Sigurd, who is one of the people they have identified as meeting the physical description of the guy that broke up the Rough House bar in the last issue, where Sigurd took it to the Sons of Thor, or whatever the biker gang was called. So we then go to a day on the job site with Sigurd and Miss Sapristi, who is related to Sigurd's boss. Say that again.
The niece, I think. She said my uncle.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about something like that.
Okay, so that's a reference back to Simonson's run of Thor, and we get a little bit of flirtation with them. I'm feeling all these ladies coming after Sigurd. Because then the other construction crew guys are like, "Hey, is he going to be able to be up there and use two hands on this hammer?" And she's like, "He only needs one hand." It's like, "Okay, girl, you are thirsty as hell." Every girl in this book so far is just thirsty as all get.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man! But Sigurd gets this job working the high steel for this construction company, and all of a sudden he's just doing the job, talking to some of the other workers, and then the majority of our issue, this big fight breaks out, where the Sons of the Serpent show up, and they like trank dart. They kind of they incapacitate all the other construction workers, and then they take the lethal option, going after Sigurd. Sigurd fights all of them off with kind of the same strategy he took in the second issue, where he ties the cord, the bungee cord, to the end of Mjolnir, simulating to the hammer. It's not Mjolnir yet. Simulating how the Thor that we normally know would use Mjolnir to call it back to himself. He absolutely wrecks shop on these guys, and they stand no chance against, again, just a normal dude. Like, Sigurd's not the son of Odin, god of thunder. He's just a guy with a hammer waking up to solve some problems with this bungee cord hammer. We also see Lucky show up a few times in this issue. Lucky is the one that gets Sigurd the proper permitting to be part of this construction crew. And he's just poking his nose in here and there. And then we see the neighbor, Eric. What's the neighbor's name again? Christine? Is it Christy? Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I think it's Chris.
Yeah, something like that. Premier Thor podcast, my foot. But we'll get our research team on this. They show up, and Lucky has used a little bit of his power, and it gets the attention of Odin. So we end this issue with Odin approaching Lucky and being like, "Okay, Loki, what's going on here? What are you up to this time?" And that's where we're left off in this issue entitled "Father of Lies." So, Eric, where do we want to start off with this issue? It's not a very narratively dense book. We get a lot of big fights, so I know we're going to talk probably about a few panels that were brutal and hard-hitting. But where do you want to start off the conversation with this breakdown?
I want to start a little bit high level here. I think that now we've got a good sort of taste for what the Mortal Thor is starting off. We're a few issues in now, so it's not just one teaser. It's not just a teaser and a preview. We've got 3 issues under our belt now, and we really are starting to see where this is going and who this Sigurd character is, what he stands for, and what it's all about. I think that this shows the brilliance of Al Ewing in his adaptability, his responsiveness, and the way that he is thinking about showing so many different aspects of Thor, because I think that he's had this planned out the whole time, and he wants to show we've got the god who smiles in the beginning. We've got some Utgard god stuff. We've got this convoluted relationship with Don Blake. We've got a lot of stuff that it was getting a little heady. It was getting a little philosophical. And he's sort of giving us this nice break to just say, you know what? I also know how to write a Thor comic where he just beats guys up. Like I can also do that. And so I think it's a subtle flex that shows that he's not afraid to make Thor kind of a brute, kind of a muscle guy, he's a blue collar hero. He's a construction worker.
Right.
He's kicking ass. It doesn't have to be all wibbly wobbly magic dimensions, lore, all this stuff. There's very little lore in this. It's just it's showing a very practical Thor, a very practical, straightforward fighting style. But I'm starting to appreciate how much this hammer on a bungee cord is actually brilliant because
Yeah.
they even explain it. They have a rationale. If he's working the high steel, he's got the rope attached to his beater, which is the hammer. So if he drops it, he can pull it back up. It
Bingo.
makes total sense. So that he can walk around with this hammer on a bungee cord and no one's going to bat an eye about like, what's he doing with that thing?
I love that Al actually, and I can't wait to like someday ask him this question. Like, okay, dude, where did you come up with this idea? Like, because it's so simple.
Yeah.
And yet, like you said, the internal logic does check out. And I can't wait to see like what more like innovative like fights we get with this. Because I mean, in the last few years of Thor comics, I've never actually been forced to think about how does Mjolnir work practically? Not the enchantment. How does it work as a weapon?
Yeah.
And now, like that, we have the bungee cord hammer. It's like, okay, I actually have to think through how the hammer works and how the physics of it and the internal logic in the book justifies the way that it works. And I just love that Al Ewing, of all people, is like, nope, bungee cord attached to the back of a hammer. Here's how it makes sense.
And he's upgrading it because he's got these like leather wrist straps that they joke that he bought at like a thrift store or something like that, and he's hooking it on there with these little carabiners and stuff. So it's just so fun. I just love the idea that if there were people out there who were grumpy or angry, like Thor's a sissy, he used to kill people and now he doesn't. It's like, hey, come on back in. We can all enjoy comics. You're gonna like this one. Like it's Al sort of, I don't know, not catering to these Thor fans that just like, but people like what they like. People like things a certain way, and it's showing that like, hey, I'm a diverse enough writer that I can find an angle that changes it up. It's an extremely different status quo. You know, if you've read every Thor comic like I have, or leading on the road to 800, you know that they always try to hype up a status quo change, and a lot of times the status quo change falls flat. It's like, oh, you killed Odin again. Who cares? Oh, yeah. Look, you know, Loki's back. Who cares, right? It's like, that's not a real status quo change. This is a real status quo change, and this is getting people talking, I think, in a good way. And it's showing that, yeah, he can take a big swing and follow through on a story that feels, again, it feels right at home. It feels like it just makes so much internal sense.
What? So I love that you said, Eric, I love that you said status quo change, because one of the ways that we are shown this status quo change in this issue is actually something I completely overlooked in my synopsis. So I want to call back to that, because you also said you wanted to start off maybe a little headier, a little bit higher, you know, up on the scale of importance. And I want to go to the section at the beginning of the book, and I'll read it. So if you haven't read the book, please go read it, and just know that this is kind of going on in the background of Sigurd's mind. As Sigurd is sleeping at the beginning of the issue, we hear a dream of his where there's this, thunder and lightning and a water crashing up against a rock, and there, standing on top of the rock in the afterlife nightgown, is who I assume is Thor. He says, "I am dead, Sigurd Jarlsson. I am dead, and you are not me. You have nothing of mine. It is winter now, and all I was is buried under the snow. All but one thing. There is wrong, Sigurd, and where there is wrong, you break the sky to right it. For that is who you are." And Sigurd wakes up and starts speaking. He's not speaking English. He's doing that muttering that he was been doing throughout the book. But we get that vision, that dream of Thor. Eric, what do you think of that 3-panel little dream that Sigurd has before we jump into the more like, you know, kind of higher paced action stuff?
Again, I don't know. I don't want people to think that I'm just pandering to the Owl Father, but this is brilliant because he's not giving away too much, but he's giving us breadcrumbs, because it would feel so frustrating for him to just keep us in the dark for 6 issues in a row, 12 issues in a row. And he could totally do that. But it's just feeding us a little bit. So now we're learning more about how this works. What are the rules? How did this come to be? So Thor is being very clear, like, this is not Odinson. It's not Odinson reincarnated. It is not a new body for Odinson. It's not amnesia. It's none of that stuff. Sigurd is probably that separate soul that he was talking about in Thor 25. There's like a soul to spare. Yeah. And that's what got put into this new story that was created. And so it's not really the essence of Thor. It's a new thing. And that's been very clear. But that doesn't mean that Sigurd doesn't have anything in common with Thor. And they have this part of their identity that is going to be righting the wrongs and breaking the sky if they need to be a protector, a defender.
Right. I love that we get this little, like you said, we're getting that little crumb. We're getting a little bit of the larger, more meta story going on in the background, but we get it over 3 panels, not 3 pages. Yeah. 3 panels. We get our little, a little hint, our hint of lore, and then we move back to the story. Mm-hmm. Instead of there being these large expositional dumps. Sometimes expositional dumps really, really work. But I feel like with the pace Al is establishing with this new book, large exposition dumps about ancient, god wars just wouldn't feel appropriate here. Because like we said at the beginning of the episode, this book so far has been paced almost like a Daredevil story or like a Punisher story, mm-hmm. where like we don't really need to know too much. We just need to know why Sigurd is in the fight and what is he trying to accomplish by the fight happening. But in this issue, the fight comes to him. So that transition into the more action-packed stuff, Eric, what'd you think about how we ramped it up again? And we got this standoff between the Sons of the Serpent and our guy Sigurd with his bungee cord hammer.
It's a lot of fun. I was looking at I love the sound effect that the guns make because they make it over and over again. Put. And I think that it's a dart gun, and I think they have poison in there because they're snakes, right? So it's like they're using the non-lethal poison. And that's and that, again, that's like, it's just, let's just let it be fun. You don't have to read too much into it. They have these gravity souls activated. They're running up the side of the building. That's very like campy, very like 60s comic of seeing them just turn on this tech. You don't have to know how it works, but they're going to run up the side of the building. And so it's a good old fashioned henchmen smash them up. And it's so much fun.
Yeah. I agree. And we do get a lot of, I feel like this is where these action scenes are really where Pascal Ferry has kind of shown why he is on this book. The action and the movement and the lines, you and I are, more fans of the harder lines. But I feel like in this issue, his style really, really fit, especially when we see Sigurd, take off a construction vest. Then he jumps down like to a lower beam from a high beam to go at. He's jumping into the fight, and again, just a guy. He's not Thor. He's not flying around. He's jumping from beam to beam. Like, seriously, the Daredevil comparisons I didn't really realize until I'm talking about it right now, but he's just like he's got this long cord, just whirling around him, and he's jumping off of a higher place. It just gave me Matt Murdock vibes. And he goes right into this fight, and there is just no let up in this. They're shooting these, more lethal poison darts at him, and he's blocking it with the construction helmet attached to his arm. Which I was like, okay, Steve Rogers, we get it.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's just like whipping this hammer at guys' chests and their heads, and he is caving in these guys' freaking domes. Like, I guess it's still weird to me that the mortal Thor is more brutal 3 issues in than the immortal Thor seemed to be. Am I just like having recency bias there, Eric, or
No,
are
I
these
think
last 2 issues?
we kind of danced around this topic on a previous episode, I think, because I think my rationale for this is that when the immortal Thor, he doesn't have to be lethal. He doesn't have to be as brutal because he's not in really as much danger,
Yeah,
right? I think because he's so powerful, if he completely, gets the fight turned against him and he's losing the fight for a while, he's still probably fine for a good while.
right.
But Sigurd, one stray dart and he's dead, right? So he really has to end this quickly and go all out. So I don't think he's holding back at all. He's really going all out
Yeah.
from the start, which to me is why I think he's a little bit more violent seeming than the other Thor.
So unlike main continuity like Thor Odinson, Sigurd can't really play with his food here. He
Yeah,
has to
exactly.
he has to take it seriously. And like there's when just let me know, Eric, like if you have any like favorite parts of this fight scene. But I know like my favorite part, it was here at the end where he's in this standoff where there's a guy on his right side and a guy on his left side, and one of the guys shoots the lethal poison dart, and Sigurd does like the almost the Matrix, like Neo, bending out of the way.
Yeah.
And the dart hits the guy on the other side of him. I was like, okay, simple but effective. I really liked that part. Did you have any other favorite panels or moments in this fight with the Sons of the Serpent?
Well, and that part right there, that makes twice now that somebody died fighting him, but his hands are still kind of clean because the other guy got hit with his own bullet, and then this guy, he's just sort of got out of the way. So it's like he's not actually murdering them, but yeah, he's fighting in a very bloody way. I liked Lucky chiming in and helping move the story along. And then I thought the last page reveal with Odin was legitimately shocking. I was like, okay, now I have a million more questions. What's going on here? Is this like the quote unquote real Odin? Is this Odin in this story? Is this, is he back from Valhalla? Is he going to be back for the next 20 issues? Just there's a lot of potential repercussions there. And it reminds me of Odin in like the 90s comics, where Odin is basically like a bum on the street, and so this Odin doesn't look like a bum. He's got a cape and he's got Raven and like a nice cane and stuff. But is he a more human kind of Odin as opposed to the all powerful Odin? Is he just basically a god or a spirit there, and maybe not the All Father in this context? I don't know. So that is regal. He's not covered in gold, right? He's just a guy with a cape. So.
Yeah, a little more like barrel chested. He's
almost like when he's in disguise as like a traveler, he dresses up like this sometimes. So
yeah, Faz was unable to join us tonight. He's a little under the weather, and his voice just wasn't gonna be up to his omniphasient standards for this episode. So I asked him if he wanted to share any specific thoughts on this review, and his mind first went to, okay, what is going to go on with Odin? Like, who is this? The wheel has turned version of Odin, like you were saying, Eric. Is this continuity's version? Is this Loki's version of Odin in this context? Is this Odin sending an image from Valhalla of like, okay, dude, like what's going on with this weird little thing? And then Faz just at the end says, all in all, what the hell is going on? And like, I love that that's where Faz's mind went. Is there an answer to those questions, Eric, that maybe you would prefer? Is there a version of Odin showing up here that makes the most sense to you?
Gosh, I mean, Odin actually could really mess things up, because I've just been really enjoying not having to have a story that's as complicated. The really nice thing is you can make these issues as deep as you want them to be, you can just kick back and enjoy the fight, or you can try to like hang on every clue and try to like figure it out, which obviously that's where I like spending more of my time.
Right.
So I'm immediately wondering like, well, why does he have red sparkles around him? Red sparkles usually implies some kind of reality magic, at least in the MCU. So, well, I don't associate Odin with red sparkle magic. That's showing that he's sort of just appeared there. So
Right.
he must be imbued with some kind of power and not just a dude. That's all I can read into it at this point.
Right. Well, and like we said at the beginning, this issue is not overwrought with a lot of complexity, but the pieces that we did get do spur on more questions. And unlike some issues in the past where I'm like, I have more questions and I'm just confused now.
Yeah.
I have more questions and I'm like, okay, my questions seem simpler now. Like, okay, why is Odin here? Instead of why, since the beginning foundations of the earth, have the elder gods like, oh my gosh, I've already got vertigo from all these like different threads. Eric, do you have any other thoughts on Mortal Thor issue 3, The Father of Lies, before I get to the little solicitation for issue 4 and the description that I will give of the fantastic Alex Ross cover?
Let's jump into that solicitation, because it sounds like we're going to get a little something different. You know, we've had 3 issues of this, and let's see where we're headed next.
All of you solicitation sluts, listen up. Mortal Thor issue 4. Meanwhile, A Tale of Asgard. With 9 great realms cut from the 10th, old enemies grew restless, and hungry eyes fell upon Asgard's empty throne. Ulik, Lord of the Trolls, was on the march, and which hero would rise to force him back? And which rabbit would rise to aid that hero? Rabbit? This is the story of the son of Thor and how his great tragedy began. So just to describe a little bit, everybody, we have a cover that features Magni fighting Ulik in the foreground. Oh God, I'm so excited. If this is one of your first issue or episodes of Across the Bifrost, Ulik the Troll is my favorite Thor villain. Fight me. I don't care if he sucks. He's not a serious Thor villain. I'm like, I didn't say I liked serious Thor villains. He's not edgy and dark enough. But Magni, looking just like absolutely He-Man-esque in the foreground of this cover. We also see one of Eric's favorite characters in the background. Eric, who's in the background of the cover?
Black Jack O'Hare? Is that who we're talking about?
Yes.
Well, because we remember in the what was it? The
annual?
No, it was the anthology that wasn't an anthology. It was issue, I think it was issue 17 or something like that, where it was all the different artists got together.
Yes.
And we saw Magni trying to find his place, and he ended up finding Black Jack O'Hare, because Black Jack O'Hare, the mercenary rabbit, whose sidekick was Apex, aka Power Stone, aka Prince Other One, had they kind of split up, and he was the dumb muscle that Black Jack O'Hare was working with. So now maybe this is the new team up, and it looks like they're both on the cover together. So that could be a lot of fun.
And it looks like they're Black Jack O'Hare is trying to free Carnilla from like this ruby stone prison. This is actually like one of the Alex Ross covers that is the most complex of the covers we've gotten. Usually it's like, oh, it's Thor and the villain, or it's Thor and like a storm. I feel like this cover has layers to it. And I'm very excited to know what is inside issue 4. Eric, any other thoughts about either the solicitation or the cover before we hop aboard the Rainbow Bridge and get out of here?
It kind of makes me wonder because this is happening simultaneously, right? So meanwhile, I wonder if Odin came back to try to pull Sigurd into the fight, and maybe Lucky's going to be like, no, not yet. The story has
Yeah.
to play out. That could be
Oh,
a reason maybe Odin is coming down here, is because he's maybe seeking help with whatever's
interesting.
going on in Asgard. I don't know.
I'm excited to get I'm excited to get a Magni story. And see how that's different. I'm excited to see Blackjack O'Hare. He's a fun character. I love that Ulick is finally getting the Al Ewing treatment. I can't wait to see what that character sounds like. What Pascal Ferry is able to do with him aesthetically. Very
If he has
excited.
if he has the correct number of toes,
Right.
is all important.
Right. We were talking with was it talking to our buddy Eric Bennett about the toes that are on the Marvel Legends Ulick?
The action
Is that
figure,
where
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, this is the kind of nerdy shit you get when you devote a whole podcast to the character of Thor. You get little Ulick side trails. But I'm going to have to break out the action figure for that one. I need to make myself a Ulick t-shirt. I don't know why I haven't done that. Really just a fan fail on me. But Eric, this has been a fun one. Hopefully we can bring back more of the crew next time when we dig into Mortal Thor number 4 in about a month. Man, we got a lot of good stuff coming up because in November we're going to get Mortal Thor 4, but we've also been getting previews for Doctor Strange number 1. Eric, have you seen any of the previews for Doctor Strange number 1?
I haven't seen the previews. I've seen the covers. I got to go look these up.
So, Ivan Fiorelli has been releasing some artwork on his Instagram, and he released his interior design for Angela, and it looks amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And I know it might be for the Doctor Strange book. I haven't double checked this, but one of our favorites, Luciano Vecchio, is doing some Angela art that is also phenomenal. Of course, because I'm convinced the man is not capable of anything less than fantastic work. But I am so excited to continue to see Stephen Strange in Asgard, but also to see Angela come back into a book. Very, very excited. And then at the beginning of next year, we've got Hela as the Queen in Black. Like, there's so much.
That's going to be wild. That's going to be great.
Cool Thor shit coming. And Null is going to be a bigger deal. I feel like we're headed towards a Null event or something like that because we got a bunch of nullified covers, which good play on words, editors at Marvel. Yeah, there's so much cool shit coming up. And I hope that you, listener, are with us for all of it. But until then, we're just going to remind you that we have an Instagram, we have a Discord, we have a Patreon. If you want our Halloween themed pregame for this, where Eric and I talked a little bit about Halloween and gave just some backstory about our history with the spooky festivities, click those links in the episode description. That'll take you to where you need to be. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We really do appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to share some of your thoughts, Instagram and Discord are the best places to do that. Please, please, please stop by there. Talk to Eric and I. We hang out on the Discord fairly regularly, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on Thor. So until we meet again, everybody. Until we're gonna stay off the high beams. I think we're gonna come back down to the ground. We're gonna not trust Lucky because Odin is pissed with him right now. So maybe stay away from Lucky. And if you are a lady in the Marvel universe, we know you've got your eyes on Sigurd. We know we see you seeing him. We see you. So until next time, everybody, we just want to remind you to do one thing, and that is to stay worthy.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if it be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Bum 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 bum.
Ba-dum-bum.